Hey, Energizer, thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Jonesin 4 Show. The show that's here to help you live your life to the max, help to give you the tips, the tricks, the strategies, all those things so you can savor each and every moment. And today we're going to help you embrace your strength, embrace your uniqueness, because guess what? You are freaking awesome just the way you are, and own it. Share it out with the world. And you don't need me to tell you that. You need to tell yourself that. But we have a special guest here to share with you more strategies, more tips of how you can embrace your uniqueness, your strength. Heck, she's going to talk about how to be awkwardly strong, because how freaking cool is that? Jessica Smith, thank you so much for jumping in and joining the Jonesin 4 Show today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, it is my pleasure to have you on the show. I love the topic, love the focus point of being awkwardly strong, because we are all unique people. We all have our own thoughts, ideas, and strengths and talents, all these things. And some of us see those things as weaknesses, that we don't feel strong, that we don't blend in necessarily as well, or that we think we're going through these battles alone. When in reality, many of us have these battles going on. We need to have that strength to go through and use our uniqueness, our awkwardness in a way to keep going strong and to break through it. Maybe I'm not thinking the same awkwardly strong as you are, but let's dive in. Enough of me talking. How about you share your story? Let us know, how you started, how you got to be embracing your awkward strength. That just sounds like a fun thing to say. I like saying that. And help us go down this road.
Absolutely. So Awkwardly Strong is the name of my first book. I'm an author, and it started back in college. Actually, we could probably even take it a little farther back into high school. When I was 17, I started making noises, and I didn't know what they were, why they were happening. They were kind of like hiccups, but they didn't hurt like hiccups. Had no idea what was going on, but I would just and then they started to like evolve and change. So every once in a while, I just started screaming in very inappropriate times, which makes life very awkward.
That would be very awkward. Holy cow.
A little bit. When I was 24, I was officially diagnosed with Tourette Syndrome. So that's what the noises are. Like, I make movements and I make noises that my body just does on its own, and I cannot control them. And Tourette syndrome is this huge, every person with Tourette syndrome is going to be different. I'm more vocal than I am physical. Some tics get to be dangerous. They can be excessive. It's a whole world of its own, but definitely very awkward when most people aren't anticipating or have even heard of. I'm amazed at how much I still have to explain what Tourette syndrome really even is.
Well, I was going to ask, and I don't mean to interrupt, because I was a teacher, a middle school, high school choir director for 9 years. And so Tourette syndrome, I've heard of it. I know what it is, but I know many people don't. Or there's that stigma, that idea that, okay, with Tourette's, you burst out with swear words occasionally, right? At random times, you burst out. And sure, that is a form of Tourette's that some people can have, but that's not what Tourette's is directly, or solely, I should say. So what is it?
Right.
Help us understand this term that we may or may not hear in our daily life.
So Tourette syndrome, there are 4 qualifications according to the DSM-V, which is what classifies disorders. There has to be a vocal tic or uncontrollable vocalizations, physical tic or motor tics. There has to be no rhyme, reason, or pattern that's really set to it, and onset has to be before age 18. So it's very broad in what it is. I actually have a form of Tourette's called echolalia, and I actually tend to repeat things that I hear fairly often. There was one job that I had where I sat fairly close to the work clock, and after people would punch in, it would go beep, beep, beep. And every once in a while, I just started imitating the noise. I would just beep, beep, beep periodically throughout the day. Like, I had no control. I didn't know it was coming. Because I went so long undiagnosed and at an older age, 17 is definitely on that later end of that 18 onset. I was able to express a little bit better. I don't know. It's kind of like cough or a sneeze in a way. Like, it was, like I mentioned before, it was kind of like a hiccup to me, it was just a normal bodily function. It was just something that I did. Whereas statistically, people will start around the ages of 4 to 6. And at that point, they're not able to say, oh, I didn't do that. Or if they did, they're just a kid trying not to get in trouble. So they're told, stop being so disruptive, stop being such a bad kid. Right. So I had a totally different mindset coming into this of what Tourette syndrome is and how it functions. I'm able to explain it's like a cough or a sneeze. Very similarly, there are a lot of people who can feel when their tics are coming on, kind of like you could with a cough or a sneeze, and you can suppress them. But just like if you suppress a cough, later when you decide to finally let it out, you're going to cough up a lung, right? We have what's called tic attacks, where you're just all over the place. Like you have zero control over your body for a good 10 to 15 minutes. Wow. Or, you know, longer, shorter, depends on the person.
Right.
So very, very different from person to person, but still a very fascinating thing. I've done a lot of research on it. I've done a lot of history behind it, because when I was diagnosed at 24, that was actually my senior year of college. It took me a minute to get through college.
It took me 7 years. Majors. Don't worry. It took me 7 years.
Okay, cool.
It's okay.
Yeah. But I was freshly diagnosed. I had missed the deadline for internships. It was my last semester. And so I had to do something. I'm like, well, let's do a research paper. I was actually studying international cultural studies with an emphasis in communications. So I took my fresh diagnosis that I was curious about. I want to see how Tourette syndrome affects communication based on the things that I've studied over the course of my college career. A lot of that is also based in cultural expectations as well. That's the cultural studies of communication. And basically what I found was that awkward situations, where they come from, why they happen, and what makes them so awkward. So I was able to then interject how Tourette syndrome kind of fits into that. So in culture, the life that we lead and everything going on around us all the time, there are cultural expectations. There are these unspoken rules that no one really knows, that everyone knows, but doesn't really talk about. And if they do talk about it, it's in comedy form. We know not to ask a woman her weight or her age. Right. Cultural expectation, unspoken rule. We just know. And if it comes up, it's a joke.
Right. Exactly.
So what awkward moments are is periods of time where there are no rules or we don't know the rules. And so when we're feeling awkward, we're looking around, okay, who knows the rule? Who knows the rule so that I can follow them and not look like a complete fool of myself because I don't know the rule. You know, especially as we get older, we're expected to know these rules. Kids don't know them. They have zero expectations. They do what they want.
Right.
You know, and they don't feel awkward. Awkward is something that we grow into because we realize, oh, I'm supposed to know these rules and I don't.
Right.
So
it's like when we go into a new place or, you know, a new environment, we're looking around and saying, okay, what is a proper thing to do here? You know, like even, you know, let's put a concrete example. You go into like a fast foodish style restaurant for the first time, you know, they give you your food on the tray and like, okay, do you leave it there on the table or do you take it to the trash can, right? I mean, not that I suggest people eat fast food by any means, but there's an example that probably many of us have had where you go, do I do this or do I not do this? Well, you usually stop to look around to see what other people are doing. Same thing with the cultural norms, right? You try to look around and see what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate.
Right. But understanding that at this point that no one knows what the rules are, especially if I'm going to be screaming in the middle of church services or barking during business meetings, because I have done both. Everyone just kind of stops, like, what happened? You know, I get a lot of, are you okay? Like, what just happened? But the best part is understanding that they don't know the rules. They don't know what happened, but I do. I have that context that then allows me to explain, this is what happened. This is how you handle it. And everyone's just so grateful. Oh, good. Thank you. Someone actually knows the rules. But it was just so empowering to realize that I get to be the one in control when I literally cannot control the words that come out of my mouth or movements my body makes. I do have control of situations. And so when awkward moments come, I then have the confidence, because I'm so empowered, understanding, oh, that just means no one knows what's going on. And they don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. I can do what I want. And everyone thinks, oh, cool, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I get to create those rules.
Interesting.
So it's powerful.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's incredibly powerful for you to have the knowledge and confidence to go, okay, this is, I know the rules in this circumstance and I can help guide you through this. That's incredibly powerful to have on your side. So how can we find those moments in our life, assuming we don't have Tourette's or know that? I mean, you have to have that knowledge base of, okay, well, this is what happens and all this. So is it that we need to have a full understanding of everything, or how do we take control of those moments?
It is, for me, it was just an empowering and a confidence issue. So now if there's moments of awkwardness, of no one really knows what's going on, I just kind of do what I want. Because the other part of that is understanding that these cultural rules are man-made. These aren't laws of nature. You go even from state to state. If you were to go from Nevada to New York, or if you were to go from the United States to Mexico or to France, all of these cultural expectations are going to be different. So they're flexible and they're changeable. And we're making this shift into a more global society. So culture is kind of like evening out a little bit, like it's less extreme because we have this commonality of internet culture, which is its own thing. So for me, it was just kind of okay, either nobody knows what we're doing or I don't know the rules. But at this point, I've learned to kind of be okay with making mistakes and failure, and being in the middle of everyone just kind of staring at me, because it's going to happen anyways. When you find yourself in those awkward moments, you just kind of do what you want with confidence, because either someone's going to be like, oh, did I learn those rules wrong? That's really cool. Or, oh, I didn't know that was the rule. That's awesome. Or there's always the possibility of, that's not the rule. What are you doing? But at the same time, those are people with very fixed mindsets. And those aren't really people that I want to be around, because I love learning, I love growing, and I love expanding. And people who are going to be fixed in it's a specific way and has to be this specific way typically aren't going to like what I do anyways. And there's these two other groups that I can embrace, right, and that will embrace me. So, I mean, I started taking this bull in a china shop approach to life. I just kind of show up, do what I want to do. Nice. And yeah, some people are repelled by it. Yes, I fall on my face and I fail a lot, but I'm better for it. My second and third books that I've put out kind of take the same theme of tragically strong and fearfully strong, because these are also things that we can utilize to our advantage if we understand how they work. And so with tragically strong, life is hard. I've been homeless before. I've lost 3 out of 4 siblings. Like, wow. Life is hard. And in those instances, you don't want to just charge in and, hey, I'm going to do what I want. That's true. Because there is this empathetic and understanding of taking care of other people, which is always going to be a factor. Mm-hmm. With the example you used earlier with a fast food restaurant, do I leave my food on the table? Do I not? You're looking for out of consideration for other people. You're wondering, oh, is someone just going to have more work on their plate because I'm supposed to throw it away? Or is this what they're paid to do and they're going to be bored if I don't? So there's this aspect of humanality behind it, of understanding what other people need. I'm not the only person, and I'm not just going to do what I want all the time, every time. But it gives me that confidence to know when to push forward versus when to pull back.
Hey, are you ready to crush it, to go after your dreams and goals and live your life to the max? Well, of course you are. That's why you're here listening or watching to the Jonesin 4 show, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But sometimes we still get stuck, right? These podcasts, this show is great, but that's not everything sometimes. Sometimes we need a little more. And you know what? I get that. What helps me and what has helped me and continues is a community. It's surrounding myself with people who are amazing, who are like-minded, like me, going after goals, achieving big things, and pushing themselves and others to be their best. Wouldn't it feel amazing to be surrounded by a community like that? To be surrounded by people who are like you, who have big goals and dreams, and they're going for them. Not only are they going for their goals, they're helping and encouraging you to go after yours. Well, if that sounds interesting, if that sounds fun, if that sounds like a community you would love to be part of, well then come check out Spencer's Energy Hub. That's right, I have our membership community, well I should say we have a membership community that's here for you. I say we because we are the Energizers, just like you. We energize each other to be our best. We have monthly rock star interviews, right, where we interview masters in their field. We have weekly trainings. We meditate every week as a community, and you can hop in and join us. You get special access to me along with an incredible community of people. So if you are ready to level up, if you are ready to be a rock star and crush your goals while being surrounded by an incredible and amazing community, check out Spencer's Energy Hub. All you have to do is go to spencersenergyhub.com and check it out. Or if you want, just head over to my website, www.spencermjones.com, and check out the hub. We would love to have you inside. All right, back to your show.
I love that. And there's a couple different avenues that I saw in here just through you sharing your story that we could draw from. One of them is being comfortable with being you. I mean, that's a big thing, right? Being comfortable with you and saying, okay, I know not everyone's going to like me, and that's okay, right? Not everyone's going to like me, but I have the people that resonate with me, that are my tribe, that are my family, blood or not, that we do get along with, and I jive with them, they jive with me. For the most part, we all have our disagreements as families, right? But we get along with that. And so you're okay with being you. And then the other big thing, I mean, there's many things, but the other big thing that I really withdrew from there was that the fact that you use your confidence in one area of your life. You found that confidence because you researched Tourette's, you researched how to handle it, what is the proper procedure, what is the proper expectation and all that. So you're confident in that. And then when those moments happen, you are able to stand in your confidence, be strong. But then in other circumstances in life, when all of a sudden rules are thrown out, or you're not in your usual confident state, when you don't have that confidence, you go like, hold on, I had this confidence from before. I'm just going to put it here and be like, no, I can be myself. I can be confident in this, and I'm going to go forward. That a bull in the china shop approach, right? Like I'm going to be confident in who I am regardless, because I have that confidence from somewhere else. I'm just going to use that confidence here to keep me going. Mm-hmm. That's huge. I think a lot of people struggle with that, with shifting that confidence over from one area of their life to another. Do you have any strategies or suggestions for our energizers listening to how they can transfer that confidence from one part of their life to another?
It takes some practice for sure. I mean, you're going to get in an awkward situation, but understanding the knowledge behind it makes a huge difference. I took the same thing and I did that with fear, and I've overcome a lot. I used to be the biggest chicken. I used to be the kid in high school where if you asked me a direct question, I would nod or shake my head. I did not speak to people. I was terrified of speaking to people. And that's obviously a fear that I've overcome by going on this podcast today.
Right.
I used to be scared of snakes. I used to be scared of men. I used to be scared of probably literally everything for various reasons. Right. But at the same time, so I grew up, let me explain the fear of snakes just kind of as an example. So I've had this fear of snakes when I was 4. I was always told, I live in the desert, rattlesnakes are dangerous. Don't go near one. You don't want to get bitten because you can die. Very extreme, stay away.
Right.
And then I had this aunt who liked to play with rattlesnakes, but she was an adult, so it was technically okay, right? So we were out for a Sunday drive. She sees this snake. She jumps out of the truck, plays with it for a little bit, then chops off its head and puts the body in the back of the truck. So we're driving along on the rest of the Sunday drive, and the body starts moving. And my 4-year-old brain says, it's alive. It's in the truck. It's going to bite me. I'm going to die.
Right.
Because I'm 4, right? I was very traumatized by this. And so like snakes just freak me out. And then I moved into a city where I ran into garter snakes fairly often, which garter snakes aren't dangerous. And it used to completely freak me out. Everything would just seize up. I would run, I would scream, all of the things. But what I started to do is remind myself, this snake isn't dangerous. There's no rattle. They don't have fangs. There's no poison. I'm still definitely afraid of rattlesnakes. But with garter snakes, I've gotten to a point where I might flinch, but I can remind myself, it's okay. It's not dangerous. I flinch. It's okay. It's not dangerous. I don't have to run. I don't have to scream. He's taking off the other direction. The snake is running away from me. Like, I am physically safe. I am physically okay. And we do the same thing with awkward situations as well. We just go, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. Wait, I know something about awkward. I get to make the rules. And then you go and like, what can I do? What do I want the outcome of this situation to be? And then move forward in that direction. And there is going to be some hit and misses, like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best choice.
Right.
But no one's going to care as much because everyone's just like, oh, good. Someone took action. I don't have to be the one to look like an idiot. We do have to be the one to be willing to make mistakes because mistakes are how we learn. This is the entire premise of my fourth book. I've published 3 books. I self-published. I had no idea what I was doing. I really want to go back and redo my first book because of all the mistakes that I made. I'm just like, oh, it's so self-published. And, I want it to be a high quality book because it has all of this great content.
Right.
So my fourth book is actually a guide on self-publishing. These are all of the mistakes I've made. And
Nice.
People are going to be paying me money for it because I'm willing to make the mistakes and to learn from them and to help others cross that bridge.
Right. Life is a journey, and you have to be willing to get dirty. You have to be willing to try things and make mistakes, because when you make those mistakes, well, you have 2 choices. When that mistake happens, you can either let it stop you dead in your tracks and then you just sit there forever, or the better option, you learn from it, you grow from it, and then you implement what you learned and keep going forward. So in those awkward moments, you take that leap of faith, you take that step, and you make up the rules. You do whatever you need to do to help you go on, and then other people will be relieved, right? Oh my gosh, thankfully you took that step, and maybe you get it right, awesome, and maybe sometimes you get it wrong. Awesome. Either way, it doesn't matter right or wrong, how it turns out, good or bad, that it's a learning experience for you. You're going to make it through. Hopefully, the goal, no one died, right? No one gets seriously injured. That's always good.
Right.
But you keep learning and keep going forward. So a question I have for you based on that is, okay, so we're in an awkward moment. You said, well, you can make up the rules. How do we know what rules to make up? You said, like, to envision what you want. Is it that easy, or how do you suggest we create these rules to take that leap forward?
So if we go back to the food in the restaurant, like, what is the end result? Like, do I want to inconvenience someone, like potentially inconvenience someone and be, that customer? Or would I rather be helping someone, even if it is like when I do go out to a fancy restaurant where someone is going to clean up the table after me, I still like stack all the dishes and try and make it easy. So all they have to do is pick up one plate with everything on it and carry it away, as opposed to just leaving everything everywhere, because that's something that I want the outcome to be. I want someone to have a good experience with me, whether they're face to face or not. And it is harder with certain unexpected awkward moments. Trying to think of another example. If you've got one, throw it out. We can make it a game.
Okay, I'm trying to think here. Okay, so you're going to a birthday party, right? You're going to a birthday party for your nephew. Let's just throw that out. You're going to your birthday party for your nephew. You're there. You don't know a lot of the people there. Your brother and his wife and the kids and 1 or 2 other people, but you don't know most of the other people, right? You're just different circles, different things. It's an awkward situation. You're there. What do you do?
So for me personally, just because I've studied cultural studies, I'm obviously interested in people. I am a people watcher. I'm going to be that creepy person in the corner. But instead of standing awkwardly in the corner because I don't know who to talk to, how to talk to them, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch how they interact with others and find ways to kind of like worm my way in a way when I decide I want to start talking. But there's no problem with not talking. You know, I mean, if I want to go play with the kids instead of talking to the adults because the kids have zero expectations and it's going to be less awkward, I can go play with the kids. You know,
Right.
I don't have to make conversation with the adults just because it's the adult thing to do. I'm an oversized 5-year-old, you guys. I would much rather go play with the kids than try and deal with that social awkwardness. If it is a party just of adults and there aren't kids that I can run and play with, you know, I'm going to stand and watch. I might have, you know, a few words of conversation with my sibling, with their spouse. But for the most part, I'm going to watch and see, okay, this looks like a person that I want to get to know because I kind of like what I'm eavesdropping in on their conversation and I want to get to know them. Or, you know, it's okay to just come up to someone with, hey, random question, but you were talking about this. Can you tell me more about that? Or what have you? And there is the possibility that you could take that if someone's talking something political and it's something you completely disagree with, you could jump in and argue that point. Or you could say, you know what, I don't want to spoil the party with that. We're going to have some heated discussion. It's not going to be pretty. I'm just not going to bother. There are so many different ways that single instance can go. And it's just kind of, what kind of experience do I want to have? Do I want to have a fun, playful one with the kids? Do I want to have serious conversations? Do I want to learn something? So I kind of just sit and gather information before I decide, yeah, okay, I'm ready to jump in now. There's nothing wrong with standing by the wall and waiting for that moment.
So when you are in that awkward situation, when you realize that, oh, okay, this is going to be, or this is an awkward situation, you take an inventory of, okay, what would I like this to look like? What would I want to get from this? So you're saying, what feelings do I want to have? What's the outcome I would like to have from this? And then taking those steps to make that happen, using the birthday party. I want to have a fun, playful time. Well, then I'm going to go play with the kids because that's going to be fun. And if I have a couple words with the adults and it's fun, it's playful, great. But I see that political conversation, I'm going to avoid it because that doesn't fit where I want to go with it, right? Or I'm here, I'll chat a little bit with people I know, and then I'm just going to people watch because I'm curious. So that makes me interested. If someone talks to me, great, then they'll talk, but that's my main focus is to people watch and do that. But you're taking the time to evaluate what you want from it, how it's going to serve you, and then take those steps to fulfill that vision.
Right. I mean, either way, I'm kind of standing by the wall, which a lot of people are going to feel awkward standing by the wall because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. There is no supposed to. It's what you want. And if you need to take the time to figure that out, by all means, take the time to figure that out. It's only awkward if you're not comfortable with what you yourself are doing, which if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, you should probably change that.
Love that. So awkward is what you feel, not necessarily what society or what the expectations are, what other people might throw out on you, because then you're thinking of, well, they think this is awkward, so now this is awkward. It's more what you think. So be at peace, be at comfort with what you're doing, how you're handling yourself, and how you are you, right? Be okay and comfortable and confident in that. Love that.
Yeah. I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. They may feel awkward, like, oh, I wonder if she's okay standing by the wall, in which case they would do something about it or they wouldn't. But I'm not in control of their actions. I'm not in control of their feelings. The only person I can control is, ironically, myself, which, as I mentioned before, I can't always really control, but there are aspects that I can control. And I want to capitalize on those moments because sometimes they're few and far between.
Well, I think that's great advice. Something we all need to do. Take control of what we can control, right? Control the controllables and let go the stuff we cannot control. That's huge advice and something a lot of people struggle with, myself included, right? Because we want to try controlling those uncontrollables, but we have to let that go. So as we wrap up today's episode, do you have any tips for helping us control those controllables to embrace our awkward strength?
I think the biggest thing and like the first step that you would want to take is that sitting down. What do I want out of life in general? You know, what kind of experiences do I want to have? And you don't have to go through every single instance. I mean, because then you're missing out on a lot of present experiences and while planning for the future. But just kind of get an idea of, you know what, I'm tired of feeling bored at work, of running around in circles. That was something that I had experienced. I hate being an employee. I didn't want to do that anymore. And I had done it for so long and it just always frustrated me. So I started writing and publishing books. And as of 2 months ago, I've been able to make that jump into full time. And it's been so good, so freeing. I get so much more done. I make so much more money because I'm doing what I love, that sometimes it's hard to stop and remind myself, wait, I need to rest. I need to have a life outside of what I'm doing. Because I just get so excited and so passionate about it. And life is just much more fun. I mean, for some people, being an employee is what they want, and that's great. But you need to figure out what works for you and what kind of experience you want from life in general. A lot of this comes from the fact that I have lost 3 out of 4 siblings, 2 of my grandparents, multiple friends, way too young. Death has just been such a common presence in my life. And I've been to a lot of funerals, and it's funny because they always are actually very inspiring to me. Like, I love how much they inspired people. I love that they took so much passion in this, you know, and well, what kind of life do I want when it comes time to have my funeral? Because nobody's getting out alive,
right?
You know,
no one is.
That's just a fact. So take kind of some stock of what you want to see and where you want your life to be, and take steps to do that now, because you never know how short life is going to be.
I love that. Take stock, look at what do you want to get from life? How do you want to live this life? And, you know, whenever the trip is over, whenever our journey comes to an end, we want to live our lives to the max, get the most out of it. And that's different for everyone. So figure out what it looks like to you and take that step forward, and then take those steps through those awkward moments to keep that happening and to be living your life to the max. That's awesome. Where can people find out more about you and get a copy of your books? You have 4 books out. Congratulations on that, by the way. That's incredible. Yay. So amazing. So where can people learn more about you and get a copy of your book or your books?
So, fun fact, my given name, Jessica Smith, is not exactly searchable online. So I've kind of made it easy in a way for you. I've got a pen name. And If you search for Paula Jean Ferry, Ferri, I am what pops up for the first 4 or 5 pages of Google. You can find me on medium.com, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter. I'm not on it a ton. But I also have a website, paulajeanferry.com. And from there, you can look at different things that I am doing. In addition to writing books, I also host writing retreats. I've got a creating creativity course to help overcome writer's block. 78% of Americans actually want to write a book, but only 3% of that 78% actually do. That's kind of been the whole theme of what we've been talking about. I want to help people to take that step, move forward, and accomplish something that's just on their bucket list. So paulajeanferry.com is where you can find some of that, as well as some personal coaching as well.
I absolutely love that. And everyone has a story, everyone has a book inside them, and whether they choose to share it or not, and hopefully they take the steps to share it. So go you. I love that you're sharing that and helping people and guiding them through that process. I've written 3 books, working on my 4th now. So I'm super excited for you to be helping people make that happen. And folks, if you didn't catch that or you're driving right now, just make sure you check out our show notes so you can get the links and all that stuff to her website, the social media links, all that. So you can follow her and join up and write your own book. How awesome would that be? So you can find those at spencermjones.com. Jessica, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun. Thank you.
This has been awesome. I appreciate you and your energy and energizer. Thank you so much for listening, being here. Your support is absolutely incredible. If you can hit like and subscribe, that would be amazing. I would love it. And, just remember, keep being you, keep being awesome. Embrace your awkward strength. All right. Until next time, we'll catch y'all later.